Hi, ladies. Good to be back. We took last week off. Lots of travel here. Let's see if she's there. Oh, she's waving. Oh, hello.
Woo!
You made it.
I made it. I know all of us traveling and doing all the damn things.
I literally just said, I'm like, it has been a lot of travel. A lot of miles in the sky have been put over the past couple weeks.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
whew,
Cafe.
you in particular have been doing a lot of travel.
Yeah, I just got back from Chicago for a family thing. I was in Vegas for Tamsin's hottest menopause party. We're here, we're there. You know, all for women. All
It's
to
amazing.
this of us.
And it's moving fast. I feel like it's all just kind of starting to go, and then you feel like it's really starting to click, which feels really good.
I think so. I feel like there's something happening. There's something in the air. Something's changed. And I just, we're both in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I just look at the calendar and just the sheer amount of events
Yeah.
and things happening. And, I think COVID is a distant memory. We are ready to gather. We are ready to get together. We want to learn. We want to empower. We want to
Yeah.
support and do this together. This I know for sure.
100%. So for those of you who are joining, I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction to my new friend, Jen Marples. Although our worlds have completely connected in so many ways. I wore my bracelets for you today.
Oh, yay. I'm not wearing any of my Hawaiian things today.
Jen and I actually grew up in Hawaii together and went to the same high school. So our worlds are very intermingled, but then the universe put us back together in the Bay Area around women's health and women's empowerment and women's midlife journey. And what Jen is doing is nothing short of amazing. And I thought I'm going to do a little laundry list of your ridiculousness, if that works for you.
Thank you, darling.
Just sit back.
Hey, why not?
Relax, have a cigarette,
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the show. So Jen Marples, who's joining us today, is at her core a cheerleader and champion of women in midlife, is how I would say it. She's an entrepreneur. She is a founder. She is a marketing and PR executive. She is a podcaster. And she really, I think today we're going to dive a lot into this, which is she is the leader of You're Not Too Fucking Old movement, which is pretty radical and awesome. She runs the Jen Marples Agency, which is a full service marketing communications agency. She has years of experience working with huge Fortune 500s to first-time entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and women who are really trying to change the world and make it a better place. And particularly, I would say women-owned businesses a lot. I mean, that's kind of your focus and your passion, as it may be. She's the host of the Jen Marples Show podcast, which is in the top 2%, which is not normal. I don't know how you did that. So that's incredible. And at the very end, I will kind of coda this with Jen firmly believes that women in midlife should be embracing and rocking that second half of their life. And ultimately, this is the best half. So I'll pause there. Anything to add?
Well, you're just so sweet. It's always funny listening to yourself,
Yeah.
be introduced by other people and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I know that. Because, we're always the first thing, we're nice. We shine the light on other people and we're
Yeah.
first to go that old thing. Oh, just that.
Yeah.
And so this is our permission to actually celebrate ourselves. And that's what I really do think the best thing about midlife is that we have done a lot of shit. We have come a long way. So we
Yeah.
have done a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so right off the top, y'all, just know that you're worthy of whatever you want and whatever you desire. And you've got everything that you need inside of you, because guess what? We've made it to here and we're lucky
Yeah.
to be here.
Yeah.
And you said a thing, and I take my title serious. My most important title apart from mom is really truly being a champion and cheerleader for midlife women.
Yeah.
I mean, I am self-proclaimed, but I did have pink pom-poms at an event in Vegas with Tamsin Fidel. And I was in the aisles with my pom-poms cheering all of us on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, that just kind of sums me up. And that's what this whole You're Not Too Fucking Old, the YNTFO movement is about,
Yeah.
is me waking up a couple of years ago going, you know what? No more. We have gotten so many messages from society since the dawning of time
Yeah.
that we're kind of expire after 40, and it really gets profound once you turn 50. But women are told since the dawning of time, you're too something.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my one little piece of that and go, well, you're not too fucking old. And people ask me, like, why do you have to use the F word? I'm like, it's not like I sit around and swear for the sake of swearing.
Yeah.
I need to say you're not too fucking old. So it packed a punch and woke us all up because it's the truth. We can just, if you listen, it's just like with anybody getting any type of negative
Yeah.
inputs, you start to believe,
You
but
do.
you gotta like shake people out of it. Like, no, 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 no. And we are actually truly scientifically at our prime. Our brains are at their best right now.
Yeah.
And so this is not about slowing down. This is about ramping up. If you want to slow down too, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do,
Right.
but we get to do what we want, not what society wants, what your mom wants, your best friend, anything. It's what we want
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So, as a coach and a strategist, and I mean, you've been an executive, been a PR and communications and marketing executive for most of your career. And what is that process that you go through with your clients? Right? You're saying, okay, what does renewal look like for them? What does rediscovery in this second chapter look like? And how do you help them get there? Because it's
It,
hard.
it's hard. And you know what's really interesting too, and even before I answer that question,
Yeah.
is an observation and what I've observed over the years and what I felt myself.
Yeah.
Because I wake up, I'm 55 now, and 51 is kind of when I decided to go. I've been all in on women my whole life,
Right.
but this was like, okay, I'm building a whole new business that supports this.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of fear.
Yeah.
And again, what I said about all those inputs that we've been getting, and there's the chatter, and I just was seeing the women and men too going, gosh, I can't get a job, and people think
Yeah.
because I'm 40 something this I can't get work, or women who are out there dating, am I too old because 50-year-old men are dating 30-year-old women? So it's just all these different, like, but wait a minute, I look
All right.
around and all the women I know and all the women I talk to are so fabulous, and we can't see our own brilliance. And again, it's because we've just been basically battered down by all this.
Yeah.
And so, I looked around when I was doing, kind of my research, loose kind of market research, and going, I created basically the thing that I needed. And so the women that come to me and the women that I see out
Mhm.
there, highly accomplished women, Melissa.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was at an event, a women in leadership event, and these are highly accomplished women leading investment funds, leading nonprofits that are raising, tens of millions. They all had the same feeling: fear of being seen,
Yeah.
fear of being visible, fear of speaking up too loud, fear of taking up space. Do I have what it takes? And again, we're all accomplished women when we get to this age.
Yeah.
And it's because of all the societal programming and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, guys, so that's like what I work with women. Basically, it's look at your own brilliance, and you've got to kick fear to the curb, because for some reason there a lot of fear pops up, and it's
Yeah.
because of those negative
It's
inputs. It's like,
hard. I mean,
let's
it
take away.
is.
Go ahead,
And
sorry.
I think the more women that I've met in this space, and every day, the thread of truth is very similar for each of us, which is I've worked my tail off for 20 years plus. I mean, killed myself for X organization and X organization and X organization. I lost adrenal glands. I lost years with my kids when they were babies. And I'm not doing it anymore. And it's going to be on my terms, with people that I love, with passion and products or services that have purpose, because I want to impact change and then be that change, because who else is going to do it? Right? Like, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? But it's really scary. I mean, and you and I have talked about this, that you have to be almost kind of crazy to quiet the noise and shut off the fear and say, I'm going to go. But it's really hard. It's not an easy task.
It's not easy, and the number one way to make it easier is to surround yourself with other great women.
Yeah.
It's the biggest hack. all of it. It's not about learning how to do funnels. It's not about your branding and messaging. All that stuff's
Yeah.
important with whatever you're doing. It's the support, the right support with the right groups of women. I was just at a lunch yesterday and we ended up talking for 4 or 5 hours. I had to, I was jet lagged and I was coming off of something too. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But we're all stretched for time. We all have a lot of
Yeah.
responsibility. And we have to make an effort and go out of our way to find these relationships that will nurture us. And they are probably not going to be the relationships that you've had that have sustained you, say, if you have kids and those
Yeah.
types of relationships. I'm not knocking our college friends or high school friends. We're all still friends. But when you're going down this path of like either personal development,
Yeah.
self-development, starting this, you've got to align with the right folks because it will be hard. You will go one day like, what in the actual hell am I
Yeah.
doing? I'm going to wake up crying. And you've got to coach yourself out of it. And
Yes.
if you can't, Melissa, remind me like that beautiful
Yeah.
introduction. Could you just say that again,
I'm
please?
just
Because I'm
gonna frame it
I
for
can't
you and mail it to you.
right. But it is
Yeah,
hard.
it's really
It is
hard.
it is hard, but you said something really important, and that's when we get to this midlife, we've been doing something for about 20 something years. And that's when I shut down my first business. I'd been doing that for a certain amount of years. We had climbed the ladder. We were all told what to do to
Yeah.
be good girls and, do our things and check the
That's
things
right.
off the list. The husband and the
Check,
cars
check.
and the houses and the jobs. And you said I did all that. I sacrificed my kids. I sacrificed my adrenals and my health. And then you wake up and you're like, for what?
That's right.
Like, okay, no, well, I put food on the table and I made money, but the sacrifice to self was too great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we get to this midlife inflection point, another friend of mine, Anne Marie McQueen, had said, I think we're all on this heroine's journey.
Yeah.
So she had said it's this heroine's journey. And so we've gotten through the muck and the mire, and we kind of all have to go through a little bit of this muck and maybe even have an ego death. I definitely had to have an ego death
Yeah.
because to walk away from something that's paying you a lot of money or you have a certain level of prestige, that's the thing you're known by. And God bless
Yeah.
us all, that's new. It's hard to dismantle that
Yeah.
and then have the courage to go into something new. And I had those feelings, Melissa, like, are people just going to think I'm whatever, light and airy now and not super serious because I'm not telling Fortune 500 what to do? And I had a lot of those feelings,
Yeah.
but it's a ego death. So if we keep living by our ego, that means we're not living in our true self and our authenticity. We're just going to burn out. We're going to fry. We're going to get angry. We're going to blow up relationships. I mean, I was so sad, depressed. I almost blew up my marriage. I'm yelling at my
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. And one, I think two things. I think it becomes this confluence. We are in the perimenopause space with a community of women who are in the throes of a transition that they weren't anticipating. And when you overlay that hormonal change with children who are teenagers, and you have aging parents, and you're trying to provide financially for your family, and you've been married for 16 years, and like you throw it on, and it's like it can happen really quickly. And I think, again, just look at the data. I could wax poetic all day long, but when you start to look at the data of 23% of women between the ages of 40 and 59 are in an SSRI, the highest age sex ratio in this country. Women are sad. Then you look at divorce rates. Number one time for women to get divorced. And by the way, 80% of divorces are initiated by women at this age. And then suicide rates. I mean, it's the highest and most vulnerable for suicide risk because women are so just boiled down. And so I think, to your point, at least one of the things that I think is so important, and you mentioned it immediately, is your community. And I read this article earlier today by Deb Liu, who's the CEO of Ancestry.com, and I love her perspectives, and she has a great newsletter. And today's was about setting the table. And you set your table. And if you're not invited to a table, make your own table. Set your own luncheon or dinner party or coffee and bring people in to who you want at your table. And I thought that was a really lovely both metaphor and kind of call to action, which is surround yourself by people. And you said it. It doesn't have to be your high school friends. It doesn't have to be your college friends. It doesn't have to be your mommy group. It can be new women in your life that you think, hey, I want to be around you Jen Marples, because your energy and your passion and your conviction of like, fuck it, let's go. That's empowering. And that then sends ripples through me, right? That's such an amazing, impactful thing that you're doing. So I guess to that end, I'm going to transition and ask you a question, which is what are the most common barriers that you see for women when they are having a hard time that are preventing them for changing this narrative, for believing in their power?
Yeah. So there's a couple top things that set women back. We talked about one, and that's fear. And so to go a little bit deeper into fear, it's, first of all, this is the biggest one, the fear of what other people think.
Yeah.
It's a really big one. And we've got to get rid of that because we're too old already. We're too old. As if you plan your whole life by around what other people think, you're going to realize on your deathbed you've lived your life for everybody else and you've not lived your life for yourself. And not, and being the martyr, and again, that's kind of how we were all raised. It's like to put ourselves last. And a lot of women right now, we've all put everybody else first, our kids, our husbands, the job, and we haven't put ourselves first. And so to do that, it feels very uncomfortable for women to put themselves first. So there's a fear that gets baked into that. And then there's just the fear of trying something new. So oh my God, there's one thing and I can do this really well. So you have to adopt like this beginner's mindset and start to embrace failure.
Yeah.
Right. And I know I'm talking all, this is painful for all you type A perfectionists out there. Hello, we have a club. Let's start one, Melissa. And this is where this ego death also has to come in. You got to just realize that failing is all part of the process. And when I started my own pivot years ago, I went to yoga teacher training because I didn't know what else to do. So I did that because I shut down. But me being I just do the thing. Are people going to think I'm like, oh, I'm some Marin cliche, some lady who lunches cliche? Never been in my whole life. I've worked since I was like 16. But I had to let that go. I'm like, who gives a shit what anybody else thinks? This is what I'm doing right now. And it was a pebble on the path. And then I went to coaching. And then I did this. And then I started the podcast. And I did all these different things. So for women listening out there, please just don't judge yourself. And don't have fear around trying something new because you care about what people think. Because newsflash, no one's thinking about you. If they are, they've got issues because they should be thinking about themselves and what they've got going on. So if you can overcome the fear of what people think and just realize that they're not thinking about it, overcome the fact that it will feel scary anytime you're trying something new, and it's fine. Park fear to the side. We need it. It's been baked in us for gazillions of years because it used to keep us safe from lions, tigers, and bears. Well, we're not going to die. You're not going to die by trying new. And then don't place a lot of importance on the next step that you're taking. So Melissa, if you're like, oh, I really don't know what I want to do, but I'm going to go to a book club, or I'm going to maybe go work in a department store. I'm going to go take this class. I just met someone yesterday who's re-enrolling in her mid-40s in a creative writing program and is going to come out with a book. And she was saying, she felt like in certain circles, because she wasn't starting a startup and wasn't trying to raise millions of dollars, and she wasn't a CMO, that she was less than. I said, no, that's 20 years ago. This is all about doing what makes you happy and what you want to do. So really, truly, it's the fear and then these self-limiting beliefs of why I can't do something. So what happens too, so the second part of this is, when you get to this phase, and there's all the stuff that you said, it's kids, it's parents aging. And I just came back from one of my dear aunts just passed away. And, a lot of this, it's all hitting. We're all dealing with the same stuff. It's our age that a lot of stuff can bubble up at this time. And if you haven't yet addressed the wound, we all have some wound and something that's stopping us. Now's the time. And it's not, please don't have any shame around getting the help that you need, because it's truly important. So if there's just something there and niggling at you, just go get some help and deal with it. Because I've been 20 something years of therapy, still need more, but it helps you then get to that next place. And don't have the fear, or I should say, it's time to start stepping into who you truly are, which is the person you've always been, but you've just not allowed yourself to be her. So I have everyone I work with, when I speak to groups, it's like, you've just got to get quiet with yourself. We have inputs coming at us left, right, and center. And if you don't learn how to take the time and get off the hamster wheel, you're never going to hear yourself think, and you're not going to get those downloads of what you should do. Because my friend Bonnie Wan, who was on my podcast, she wrote the life brief. She had said, literally the hardest question we can ask ourselves is what you want, what you
Yeah.
really, you've got to peel off mom, dad, society, best friend, your job, get clear. And your intuition is not going to steer you wrong. And it's what, and I have to, and having said all
Yeah.
this, it's still, I still have to coach
Yeah.
myself through this every day.
I was going to say, how do you embody this you're not too fucking old? Like, what are the things that you, Jen, are doing? Because I often find, you know, the tools that you're using, you've tried everything. You started with the yoga and you ended up with a podcast, a top 2% podcast. What are the things that you've done on that journey that have kept you in the quiet or have kept you motivated to remind yourself that you're not too fucking old?
One is to come back to my why.
Yeah.
And so this deep work years and years ago. So this isn't an overnight process, y'all. I hate to break it to you, but anything worth anything does not happen overnight. You're not going to open up your journal, and Jesus himself is not going to come down and say, this is what you're meant to do. It is not how it works.
Right.
It takes time, and it takes trying things. You get more information. And so I went through that whole process, but I kept back to my why. I'm like, there's something here. When I started, I'm like, I started hosting events. I kind of had this hypothesis that women were feeling really alone and disconnected. So I started having events and trainings and doing all these things. And then slowly, more things came clear. And it's like anything, anybody, any company, everybody evolves. So we're not ever meant to stay static. So the me 3 years ago, even 6 months ago, is totally different. Like, I'm doing new things now. I just hit 201 podcasts today. Podcast number 1 does not sound the same as podcast 201, and 301 sound the same.
Right.
So we have to get over it needs to be perfect, and you just have to go. And that's what I told, a recovering perfectionist. It's like, done is better than perfect. And then also, like I said before, you've got to have those friends and that support network. So you've got networks, but then you have some of those. I have a couple of dear friends that, Julie Gordon White's one of them, like, remind me who I am. Because when the shit hits the fan, you got a parent that's sick, you got a kid going through a thing, you're not gonna be able to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And the community, and which, by the way, for everyone, having the right community and connection will add 7 years to your life. It's the
No, I mean, study after study. It's, we had on one of our medical advisors, Dr. Amy Robbins, and we talked a lot about the loneliness epidemic in this country, and that we are more connected than ever, like cell phones and blah, 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 and WhatsApp, and everybody's coming at us. And yet women in particular are feeling so isolated, and the depth of relationships is stagnant, that deep, deep connection. And she talked a lot about, how to slowly, because to your point, none of this happens overnight, but slowly start to build back that muscle memory of how you connect with people, because it matters. Like, it's an extremely, in terms of longevity, you can look at all the blue zones in the world, but it comes back down to community and deep connection, not a lot.
level.
Yeah.
Because we can only have so many close relationships. And just to go into this community bit a bit, because it's really that all these women right now, like, we just went deep. Like, you and I had our first Zoom, and of course we went to the same high school. Shout out to Punaho. Like, we got into it. There was no like, fluff. We just got right into it.
Square.
If you allow yourself to get into that space and allow yourself to be inquisitive and just kind of walk in knowing I'm going to, meet amazing women. Like, I've traveled with the most amazing women that I've literally met like a week before. And you go really deep, and we're sharing rooms and talking about husbands and relationships and kids and this and that. And that's the stuff that we need as women that will sustain us. And coming off of this memorial service for my aunt, it was an actual Phil Catherick funeral. It was a whole day of things. And I unplugged, and we were looking around, and literally at the end of the day, families together, and my dad was literally breakdancing on the floor, and I started crying, like happy tears. It's the depth of the relationships and the stuff of life.
Yeah.
And I think we get with all the shiny and, oh, we feel like we're connected to so many people. We've got to go deep. We can go a little bit wide, but we really need to go deep.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the thing that sustains you and that helps you no matter what kind of journey you're on. If it's starting a new business, if it's getting healthy, if it's finding love, it's just going really deep into those relationships. And that's why I'm committing more to, let's have the podcast. I bring women together. It's my most favorite thing to do. And Melissa, you know, being in the 80s, growing up in Hawaii, or a couple of years
Yeah.
behind, it's been my through line. I've been the party planner my whole life. So I'm the art
Yeah.
director of everything. So
100%.
it is no
Put a
surprise
Hill
that
Carnival,
I'm,
chair here. I mean, whatever, division head right here.
yeah, it's like social chairman of my sorority. I'm like,
Yeah.
together. It's my
Yeah.
superpower. And so all watching this and you feel like, oh gosh, I can't make friends, connect with me. There are things coming up. I'm always telling people about where to meet,
Yeah.
and I always have people about how to make friends because it's really, and I just did a survey sidebar.
Yeah.
A lot of women, I want to know more about how to find great women and form relationships because not everyone's in vibrant communities with a lot of stuff going on. So it's a big thing. So yeah, it's really, really important. You asked the other question too of, how do you stay sort of centered and
Yeah.
up? I put sticky notes. I'm looking at a
Mm-hmm.
blank computer behind this, and literally one of them says, I kind of rotate them, is like, you could die tomorrow. So what do I want my life to look like? So that framework made me more present with my kids.
Yeah.
It took the fear of doing things like, who gives a shit? We're all going to die. We don't know when. We don't know when.
Yeah.
We're going to do all the things we can do to like mitigate that. But if you knew that, like you could die tomorrow, like how would you live your life today? And it sounds so trite,
But
but it's the truth. I sit
it
down
is.
and have with my kids and like make everybody unplug. Will I decide to like, I'm just going to go out and like do that post and like it's raw and real from the heart, but I think it can help somebody,
Yeah.
or I'm going to go reach out to that friend because I haven't talked to her for a while. Like we just got to go in on that and just who gives a crap what anybody thinks? Because again, they're not thinking about you anyway. And I don't want women to sit on their hopes and dreams because they think that they're too old, because you're not. It's societal bullshit programming.
So, what are your top tips? And maybe they'll just be repetitive, but that's okay. For women to begin to control so that they're not defining themselves by their age, right? Like, what are those tips that you're like, okay, here's what I want you to do? If you're not too fucking old, how do you begin to define yourself by other things?
So one, it's kind of like that one thing. It's like name it, like name the scary, ugly thing. And it's funny, I did an essay for my son. It was like, how do you bring diversity to whatever university? I'm like, well, you're a white kid from Marin. So I just
Yeah.
named it. Named the thing because you're not diverse. We had some other fabulous things we said, but it's really just naming it and claiming it because so many women are just afraid. And I get it for women who are in a corporate setting, not everyone.
Yeah.
It's for me as an entrepreneur, and my whole business is built on this. So I get that there's other challenges in corporate America, but I would urge you to also try to do what you can within the organization. This is why we need more women in leadership. We don't have enough time to talk about that. But
Next one.
the next one. But what's in our control is to accept. So it's like with everything, accept it and name it. So when I first started doing all my stuff, I went to Instagram one day and I just said, I was 51 at the time. I said, hello, I'm Jen, I'm 51, talked about myself. This is what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
It was sort of my first thing I did, like my stake in the ground as everything started to unfold. Because before, when I turned 50, I was afraid to put my birthday cake on Instagram. So I get it, but it's all the societal conditioning. Now I have it in my Instagram bio that I'm like the voice of the women 50 plus.
Yeah.
I've lead 55. And so let people pass out and faint. I'm like, great, I'm doing a handstand at yoga, whatever. Like it's one aspect of me. It's not all of me. And I was marveling. So first of all, your age doesn't define you. Your actual age doesn't define you. It's how you decide to live. Because again, we don't know how long that we have. And I love Chip Conley because he had written a piece that said something to the effect that, I'm every age that I've ever been. So like say in business,
Right.
you and I have a conversation right now, I'm every minute of 55.
Yeah.
But when I was listening to Pearl Jam with my son, I was about 21, in that moment with my child. Maybe when we go back home and we're with our siblings, you feel like you're 16, you kind of tap back into that. So it's really, he calls it like age fluidity. It's just a
Yeah.
number. It's
Right.
just a number. I'm ashamed of it. I'm not saying 55 is the new 35, but we are living longer than, generations in the past.
Yeah.
So it's not, it defines me in the sense that I am a smart, capable woman who's 50 fucking 5, and I'm out here doing the goddamn
Yeah.
thing, right? And so just embrace
Yeah.
it. Just embrace it, because the more you hide from something, the more it becomes, it's like if you grew up poor and you're trying to hide that, you're not being your authentic self, instead of saying, I grew up with nothing and blah, blah, blah. It's the same with age. It's the same with anything. Or
Yeah.
somebody came out with a big book who was like who was horribly abused. Like, if we name it, we take away any shame, and the more we band together and we show up. So if you proudly state your age, I state my age, and then it makes it better for the next person, the next person, and the next person. And then they're like, oh my God, that chick is 65 and she just started that media company. Yes, she fucking did.
Yeah.
Because the
Well,
only
I mean, I think that we're seeing it so much more. I mean, whether it's in entertainment, or you look at the Forbes 50 list right now, I mean, it's really incredible women who are absolutely 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, and they're doing incredible things. And I think, I'm really ruminating on the woman who you met yesterday, I believe, at the luncheon, who's taking a creative writing class. Lean into that little voice that says, I have a story to tell, and go. Because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what that story might be, ever. You could write the next New York Times bestseller in your garage, and nobody would hear that unless you just did it, right? So I
And
think that,
I have to tell you, the cool thing about her too is that she wanted to go to grad school after undergrad,
mhm,
and her parents said no.
yeah,
Like, that was a waste of time kind of thing.
yeah,
A lot of us have made decisions because of parents, and then we clocked the 20 something years. That
yeah,
seems to be the magic number. But you come back to that thing you've always wanted to do. Here's another fun thing for everyone listening that came up. It's been coming up because there was this LinkedIn challenge. It's Fran Hauser, a friend of mine, and another friend of mine, Joanne Heyman, was like, these notes, having a conversation with your younger self. I don't know if you saw
yeah.
those kind of
Yes,
up
yes,
online.
yes, yes.
So I have a post that I'm going to be posting. I have my picture. It's me in a Grease t-shirt in my roller skates in Hawaii, and it's representative of the free and carefree girl that we all used to be,
Yeah,
right? Until either parents or society, a teacher, somebody just started saying, "Oh, don't shine too bright, don't do this, don't do that."
yeah,
So I would challenge everyone to like tap back into that inner spirit that we all had before everybody started piling on and telling us why we couldn't do all the things. And so that's who I'm channeling. And I used to call her Jenny the Best. And I was Jenny, Jenny from the
Oh
block.
my God. Everybody who's listening, you have to go find your Jenny the Best. Like, who, I love that. That is so
I
good. That is so good.
had a little
Yes. I
charm.
think we all have that. I think that you start to, and Stacey and I talk about this all the time when we founded HotPause Health, is that we think about everyone else, my neighbors, not just my children, external sources, the school district, how to save the environment. Like, I am so enthralled and feel so responsible for so many other things. And it's taken me, I'm still a work in progress here, people, to say, no, I have to work here. I have to work on her. I'm gonna be a little bit selfish. I'm gonna work on her. And that's hard. That's a really hard one for a firstborn type A female, oldest daughter, to say, I'm gonna focus on me now, team. And that's challenging. It's a really hard pivot at this stage.
So, total side. My mom sent me this funny meme I'll have to send to you about firstborns, on how that was like our first company or our first startup, being the firstborn or whatever, because we ran the show
100%.
back then. I mean, I used to have the show. Um, and for the women watching and listening, it is hard. And I talk to so many women all the time, just in passing, or people that DM me. And they feel like it's so indulgent to put yourself
Yeah.
first, because we've been so programmed to take care of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the air thing. It's like, if you're putting on your air mask and you're putting yourself first, that's also what you're teaching your kids if you have kids in the home. I don't want to teach my daughters to put themselves dead last and to work themselves into a place where they can't get out of bed on a Saturday.
Right.
I don't want children. Nobody wants that for their kids.
No.
So why do we do that to ourselves? And
That's
we do.
correct.
The flip side, and nobody wants to hear this, is it's easier to stay in the muck and I've been there, and I say this with compassion because I was there. When I was going through my huge pivot and breakdown, we don't have enough time to talk about it, but I just want to make this point, was that everything that was wrong in my life was everybody else's fault. It was my husband, it's where I lived, it was my job, it was everybody else's fault. And I didn't realize it was like, hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
Yeah.
I needed to go do my work, and I needed to get clear, and it was ugly and it was messy. But my right therapist at the time said, if you can sit in this and give yourself permission to be in the muck, you will come out of this basically like reborn with a new purpose. And my health was all this crap going on. So it is hard, but we cannot blame our lives on other people.
Yeah.
Everybody's going on. And so we can't complain about it. Just number one, just start doing the work on yourself and start taking baby steps, and then take another step and take another step. Because what I don't want for any woman is to wake up in 5 or 10 years and go, damn it, I should have done the thing. And then you can't, for some reason, you can't do the thing.
Yep, that's correct.
And the thing, like I know with my kids, my son's away, and I horrify him all the time because I was twerking on Instagram at that menopause party. He's like, Mom, you have to take that post down. I'm like, I'm not taking that post down.
No, you're not.
Well,
100%.
then son, but 19-year-old boys are not my demographic here.
That's right. They're not your target audience. So too bad, so sad.
So we just have to go for what we want. And that's really want women to just understand and know, and like get in the worlds of us. Like, I will tell you, you can do it, and you can.
Yeah.
You absolutely can, what it is.
So Jen, where can people find you? We're going to put this all in, but I just want to verbalize it because I'm a big verbal thinker here. So where can women find you?
Okay, well, first of all, come follow me at Jen Marples on Instagram. Also, you can Marples Show. I'm Jen Marples all over the interweb, so LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. And listen to the podcast. It's
so
free.
Good.
And I was very committed to having this information open to all. So it's the Jen Marples Show. The taglines, you're not too fucking old. 201 episodes of goodness. So you can find, we talk about menopause, health, career pivots, self-improvement, relationships, building community. Have gotten the best guests on, and you're going to be on soon with your partner. And just take advantage of that. You can get on my newsletter. So go to my website, marples.com. All the things are there. But just come, you're already on Instagram watching this, so come hang out with me here. DM me. I answer all my DMs. Let me know how I can help you.
People, reach out. Call her.
Reach out.
If you're stuck, you're going to get unstuck. You're the best. I'm so grateful for you. I know you've been a whirlwind, so I have so much gratitude for you taking this time today.
Well, I love it. And this is my most favorite thing to do. So anytime, any place, my love. Thanks for having me. I really, I'm honored.
Okay, big hugs. Talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.